to broaden the issues of rural and township economy. There's so much that the department is doing. We are undergoing a lot of for them to trade the market doors, and that is exactly what we are doing. We incubate them, we provide those mentors, supply them with all the resources that they have, but once they get up on their feet, giving necessary resources, whether financially or non-financially, as the honorable member was saying. Another main financial resource that we have and the assistance that we have to give them is to make sure that whatever they produce, the markets are there. Whatever they produce, whenever they need to trade, we open up for that. That mentorship, even there, that is non-financial, it's what we give. I can come up, Honorable Imam, with a lot of examples where these digital hubs, we have young people who have started to manufacture. We can go, I can take you to one of the digital hubs that we have that we have just launched at Butabelo in the Free State, where you can meet a lot of young people that are very productive on what has been offered to them in that digital hub. And it's those are the examples. We are having a lot of SMMEs that have developed through the digital hubs that we are working together with small business through CEDA in that industrial hub. So really, I will be very glad to invite you. Then we can go to one or two that digital hub. You can see the living examples of what we're talking about here. Thank you very much, Chair.
The next supplementary question is to be asked by the Honourable Hendricks.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. Honourable House Chair, I'm a member of the Small Business Portfolio, and we have a parliamentary constituency office in King Williamstown. Thank you, Honourable Prince, for putting this question to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Commerce. Does the Minister have plans to do anything about the industrial park in Dimbaza near King Williamstown? After serving time for the Sharpeville massacre, freedom fighters were dumped here, and now our Minister has dumped the industrial park, and we need this industrial park in Dimbaza to rise again. Will the Minister or the Deputy Minister visit Dimbaza Park in honor of our fighters who died after Sharpeville and revive this industrial park to take the families out of poverty? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Dimbaza Industrial Park, Honourable Chair, is one of the industrial parks that are in the pipeline, that are in the plans. It's not even that, as the Honourable Member is saying, he is inviting the Minister to visit that industrial park. We have been there several times. It's part of our plans, as to say it's one of the industrial parks that we are going to be revitalizing. We have started doing that in the name of making sure that the people surrounding that area, they do benefit in the industrial park. When we talk to the issue of township and rural economy, we know the meaningful role that that industrial park will be playing. So indeed, Honourable Member, Dimbaza Industrial Park is one of the industrial parks that are going to be revitalized by the department. Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Members, question number 862 is being asked by the Honourable Manu to the Honourable Minister of Transport. The Honourable Minister.
Question? Igor,
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
what is the question? Yes, Honorable Chair. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chair?
Can hear you now, Honourable Minister. Please proceed.
You can see me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
How do I look like? Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Honourable members.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair and Honorable members. With reference to Sanral key non-toll projects directly linked to the
Honourable members. We'll proceed, Honourable Minister. The members are very excited to see you.
with reference to Sanral key non-toll projects directly linked to the economic reconstruction and recovery plan, Sanral has made following progress on 4 key corridors. 1 and 2 Wild Coast Corridor estimate 16 million rand. 2 times project in construction, 2-time project construction tender adjudication, and a 5-time detailed design construction tender advert 2023-2024, and 2 N2 eThekwini corridor estimate 14 billion rand. I'll spare the details. 3 N3 eThekwini corridor estimate 22 million rand. 4 R573 Moloto corridor estimate 9.1 billion rand. With regard to development of Sanral key toll projects directly linked to the economic and reconstruction and recovery plan, Sanral has made following progress on 4 key corridors. 1 N1 North estimate 10 billion rand. 2 N1 South estimate 8.5 billion rand. 3 N2 South and North estimate 3 billion rand. And 4 N3 Marian Hill estimate 4.8 billion rand. Thank you very much, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nan.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, thank you very much. Having gone through the debacle of the e-tolling that has just been resolved, and given the report you have just given, what is the split between toll and non-toll roads in what is being developed in these corridors? And this is really because we would not want to see more toll roads being developed. So what is the split between the toll and the non-toll roads? Thank you, Chair.
The Honourable Minister.
The split is between 2.3 billion rand to 2.5 billion rand non-tolling. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mabena.
Thank you very much, Secretary. Given the other corridor of R573, how true is it that this corridor is experiencing project delays? One. Secondly, the issue that there's been business forums that have gone in and they stopped the project. and that the project itself is going to be going into cost overruns. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
I don't have a report that says the project will go on cost overruns. I gave a feedback last week in Mpumalanga on that Moloto corridor designs have been finalized and that the project is ready to start. The board gave me a feedback that the service provider tendering processes have been finished and the service provider is ready to start. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Moluchungu.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honourable Commander will take the question. I want to show my face due to the load shedding. Minister, while we appreciate the role played by SANRAL, the entity is not only responsible for 3% of the whole network in the country. What is your response to the infrastructure report from the South African Institute of Civil Engineers, which shows that year after year, funding is allocated to roads in good condition and that low volume routes are neglected? While these roads may carry low volume of traffic, they are key links to some isolated communities. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Minister.
SANRAL is responsible for national roads, and in terms of some of the challenges we face in terms of local roads and so on, that is the matter that we are attending to in terms of funding, because that relates directly to the capacity of local government to execute. But from a SANRAL point of view, where we undertake a mission of major construction of national roads, we also implement a project of a community development projects that linked to different communities in different areas in the country. Thank you very much. House Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kwankwa.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Minister Mbalula, masiza apha eNtshona Koloni. Apha eNtshona Koloni umbhojamu kuba oonoteksi balwa norhulumente walapha ngento ye-Blue Dot eliliswe imali ibisetyenziswa to try and professionalize the industry. Urhulumente wephondo apha nomasipala bathi ingxaki kurhulumente national government ongazi namali. Le nto apha ingxaki khona ngoba ingenamsombululi nje into yokuba ichaphazela abantwana babe bebhale exams, kungakwazi ukuphangeleka, kungakwazi ukuya esikolweni ngakumbi ezilokishini. Ndifuna ukubuza ke ngoku le nto urhulumente wephondo bethule nithini ninani ngurhulumente at national level kuba le nto ibonakala ingathi izawuqhubeka okokoko asikwazi ukuthula kuphi imali. Siyabulela.
Honourable Kwankwa, that sounds like a completely new question you've asked. But I will ask the Honourable Minister to respond. The Honourable Minister.
Lungelhloniphekile Kwankwa, ndicinga bafana lo mbuzo wakho ngumbuzo omtsha. Into ye-Blue Dot ndingayiphendula xa unondibuza yona ngenye indlela, not namhlanje kakuhle ndikucacisele ukuthi siza kwenza ntoni uncedisana norhulumente wephondo ulungisa lo mba we-Blue Dot, ngoba le nto ye-Blue Dot yaqala ngapha eKapa and then bayikopisha ke kwezinye indawo. So ndiyafuna ukukuphendula kodwa ngumbuzo omtsha and uzawudinga into yokubana ndifumane yonke information ebalulekileyo malungana nalomba ndikwazi ukuphendula kakuhle, kodwa ndiyayazi yona and njoku sizawungenelela uncedisana norhulumente wephondo ekulungiseni lomba we-Blue Dot ephondweni.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, question number 905 has been asked by the Honourable Status to the Minister of Tourism. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
This question one. Sandra, I didn't understand.
No, thank you,
The split.
House Chair.
Huh?
Well, the taking by honorable speakers,
Nobody answered.
the amalgamation. According to our understanding, the process of amalgamation of the two entities, that is Brand SA and SAT, has not been stopped. The process is ongoing. There is work that is being done
But the
by
SAT
both
will
the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Government Communication and Information. And we are at an advanced stage in the discussion of these two. So the process has not been stopped as alleged by the member. It is ongoing. Thank you. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Detritus.
Thanks, House Chair. For a few weeks now, the committee's been trying to get hold of the Minister to join us in the committee to address this issue and a whole lot of other issues. Her response has been a delinquent showing us her middle finger and not attending to the committee. Now the reality is that unfortunately the Minister is not here. I'm very sorry that she's not, because she is not a princess, we don't have a monarchy, and in this republic she is accountable to the committee and to this House. So the committee unanimously was put in a very difficult position to ask her to actually be summoned to come and subpoena to the committee, and she hasn't pitched. I see she hasn't done the same today. So it is very, very disappointing. What I did want to say is this is one of the problems that are outstanding. But what the Deputy Minister is saying is that this process is going on well. How is it then that the Presidency has issued a call for new members of the board of Brand South Africa? Surely, if there's an advanced stage, you would not want to call for a new board to be called for this new entity, because it would be a completely new one with amalgamation. So the Deputy Minister could please explain that. Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
No, as I've indicated, the government in January 2020 took a position that there is a need to reorganize and repurpose some of the entities, of which Brand SA and SAT became one of those. So the two ministers were then mandated to go and meet and look at what processes must be done in the context of the mandates, operating models, the programs and the marketing approaches of the two entities, with a view of making sure that to then come back to cabinet and say what is workable, what is practical. A task team was then established, composed of the senior officials in the Department of Tourism and GCIS. The task team worked on the matter, came back to the minister, and indicated that there are three scenarios that can be looked at. One scenario is the merger. The other scenario is either leaving the current situation as it is. And then the last scenario was to look at forming strategic partnership between the two. Finally, then, this was brought to the attention of the two ministers to make a decision, of which a decision was then made that the first scenario is the best scenario of the merger. So the officials are now working at what modalities, because they are established by two different legislation. The South African Tourism established by the Tourism Act of 2014, the Brand SA is established by a trust. So you need therefore to come up with a new legislation. For that to happen doesn't mean therefore that the two entities must therefore not have their own boards in the current state. You need to have them proceeding and working until such time that we have got a legislation that is put in place to establish one entity. Thank you very much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matumba. The Honourable Matumba. Seems as if the member is not available. Yes, Honourable Member. Honourable Member, do you want to take the question on his behalf?
Yes, House Chair.
Please proceed.
Brand SA have advertised for the recruitment of board members while South African Tourism have just appointed an interim board. This is a clear indication that there is no willingness to merge the two institutions. What are the timelines for this merger, Minister? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Well, as I've indicated, Chair, the term of the two boards have come to an end, and the process of finalizing the merger is still ongoing. So you can't therefore sit back and then not have boards on both sides. So the boards are there until such time that the legislation is put in place, of which a time frame will be determined by the manner in which all the government processes, including the processes here in the House, will be finalized. Once finalized, then you will then have to then reconstitute a new entity with a new board.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Sitole. Please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Deputy Minister, if, for example, then the merger happens, say, next year, having established the board, what then is the status of this board after the merger?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Isn't it that the new legislation, once established, will be a transitional arrangement? And that transitional arrangement will then determine how do we establish the two boards of the two entities, with a view of them coming with one single entity with one board.
The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Groenewald.
Thank you, House Chair. As 53% of the total budget of the department is going to the entity Tourism South Africa, and the majority of the rest, of 47%, is going to assist SMMEs, there will be a greater demand with the merger between the two Tourism South Africa and then Brand SA. Would the Minister agree, or the Deputy Minister agree, that the department could easily be integrated in the Department of Small Business, thus dissolving the Ministry of Tourism, which will save taxpayers over 220 million rand per year? Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Well, I'm not sure how is it related to, this question is related to the question of the merger of the SAT and the Brand SA, because I don't see any relation with the two. Because small business and whatsoever that you are raising, it's not related to the question at hand. But I don't see how do you measure tourism with SMEs, with small business? How do you do that? Because it's not relevant. So I'm not sure what is it that one is expected to respond, because I can't see the relationship of the two.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Members, question number 891 has been asked by the Honourable Twaku to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. I now recognize the Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honourable Twaku has asked the department as to say, have we done any assessment on the just transition, as to say what impact will it have on the industrial development plans of the Republic? Yes, Honourable Twaku, a number of assessments has been done, both for the Presidential Climate Commission and also for the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, on the coal value chain, the transition away from coal, as well as the opportunities and costs associated with its transition, with this transition. A reference can be made to a policy brief for the Presidential Climate Commission, the Just Transition in Coal, Trade and Industry Policy Strategies by Dr. Niba Makhetla, that was done in September 2021, and also the coal value chain in South Africa, that was done in July 2021. The DTIC has been leading in the green hydrogen commercialization approach, with the IDC performing the role of secretary and chair of the Green Hydrogen Commercialization Panel. The panel consists of public and private sector stakeholders who have contributed to the value chain development for globally competitive green hydrogen economy in South Africa. The 5-year pathway of the commercialization plan is incorporated into the JET IP, included are 17 projects at various stages of the development, which includes mobility, sustainability, aviation fuel, green hydrogen, green ammonia, and green steel. Sasol is a key player in the coal value chain with a focus of energy rather than electricity. The green hydrogen economy is a critical decarbonization pathway for Sasol and other hard-to-abate sectors. And in addition, the new energy vehicle decarbonization pathway is critical to preserve industrial capabilities and employment in the South African automotive sector. 60% of automotive exports go to US, UK, and European markets. The announcements by these markets of the banning of internal combustion engine vehicles within the next 15 years requires a transition to a new energy vehicle manufacturing in South Africa, which will sustain jobs and economic contributions, as well as provide local vehicle capacity to support carbonization of our transport sector. So those are some of the assessment and the studies that we are doing, is to say, what is it that will be done? Are there any opportunities once we tackle the issue, once we get into this path of just transition? But we know very well as DTIC that this is not something that will just happen overnight. We still say we still have space to moderate the cost of the working, to the working people of the poor, as to say, what is it that can be done to make sure that the overall economic growth and the quality of life for the people is being sustained. So those are the assessments, those are the studies that you are getting into, Honorable Chairperson, when it comes to the issues of just transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Tswafi.
No, thank you very much, my Chair. I wanted to say to the Deputy Minister, other countries like the West now, they are ramping up the use of the coal. But here in South Africa, we are saying that we want to do, the transition. It's very weird, but in any case, in the the transition framework published in July by the President, the Presidential Climate Commission anticipates that the just transition will have a huge impact, not only on coal value chain, but on agriculture and well as motor industry. I think you've just alluded to it here. But this is going to lead to a massive loss of jobs in areas where industries are concentrated. What are the alternative industrial activities that have proven the record that you are planning to usher to buffer against the pain of impending job losses? Thank you very much.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Host Chair. Yes, I will agree with Honourable Tswafi as to say there are jobs that are being threatened by the just transition, but at the same time there are a lot of a number of job opportunities, new types of jobs that are there. As I've said in my initial response, as to say, as DTIC, that's exactly what we are looking at. Yes, some of the coal workers will be affected, but when it comes to all the new opportunities, new kind of work that is going to be open, the opportunities that are there, that is exactly where we are saying as DTIC, as we are part of the IMCs with the relevant departments, the line departments that are leading when it comes to the issues of energy. We are saying we're looking at the opportunities as to say, when it comes to the issues of creating jobs. When it comes to the assistance that we'll be needing to the new companies that will be getting into the new opportunities, they find us ready as the Department of DTIC. We are ready to assist them. As I'm saying, we'll be always taking a lead from the line departments as to say, where are we? It's not something that is happening overnight. Those are the opportunities that we are studying, and we are ready to take up the opportunities that comes, and we assist our companies to play a meaningful role in the economic growth of our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kulu. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask the Deputy Minister whether the department has conducted any study on the impact of just transition South Africa mining towns, especially those that are mining coal. If not, why? If so, if you can provide details on how this will affect the mining communities and industry.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Yes, I think I've responded to this question because that was the initial question, as to say, are there any assessment and studies that you are doing? I even highlighted to say yes. The department, the presidency, the Presidential Climate Commission has done that study together with us as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. Those are the studies that we are doing. It's exactly what the Honourable Member is saying. It's a lot of work that we are doing. While you are doing that, while you are studying on that, is to make sure that as we plan for the future, as we get into the transition, we are there, we are ready to make sure that we assist our companies in making sure that they get into the new mode of working when it comes to the issues of just transition. But I can be happy, I can even share the document if ever the Honourable Member wants me to share with him that document, as to say what is the assessment, what are the studies that are taking place, because I truly believe Honourable Chair can assist even him to understand more and have more plans even from his side to say what is it that is awaiting us as we move towards the just transition as a country. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable F.J. Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. The Honourable Deputy Minister, there is a wide consensus that the Just Transition Initiative should have the potential to address social, economic, environmental and justice concerns. Considering the current positioning and skill levels of the South African economy, is the Minister of opinion that the South African industries and labour force will be able to make the required mind shift, and this is the important one, Honourable House Chair, to make a required mind shift and adapt to new requirements for a new energy environment. Thank you, House Chair.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Fortunately, what the Honourable Member is raising, it's not only peculiar to South Africa only, but it is a global phenomenon. We are learning lessons from all over. That's the way that we are heading to, and there's so much lessons that we are learning, but that is what the country is rolling itself towards. There are so many lessons, as I'm saying, that we are even learning from other countries as to say, how do we transit to where we want to. So it's one area. Thank you very much for him to raise that, but as I can assure him, we are on top of it, but we are going to be learning lessons as we go forth, and as we are saying, we are the department that is even open to the views and ideas whenever honourable members can have such, but that is what we are really on top of. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Kring.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister, South Africa has some of the largest coal deposits of in the world. This can give us both a comparative as well as a competitive advantage from economies of scale over most of our counterparts. The ACGP has repeatedly said that beneficiation is one of the most underutilized policies of this government. As we export the bulk of our raw materials and import finished products, we cannot do the same with our coal. As the European and Asian nations hypocritically buy our coal to supply their coal-powered fire stations, while simultaneously telling us to shut down our coal power stations. does the Minister or Deputy Minister agree that we cannot give away the beneficiation, comparative and competitive advantages of using coal as a catalyst for industrialization, and inform this House of the credible, fact-based and government policy that was used to make the decision of a just transition initiative? Thank you.
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. That is a very new question, because the original question was to say, what is it that you are doing as DTIC in making sure that when it comes to the issue of just transition, we do this assessment and the studies in making sure that when it comes to industrial development, what are the plans that we're having for the country? Yes, as I've said, we have the leading departments when it comes to the issues of coal, where to use, when to leave coal, and so forth. But as the member is saying, yes, as DTIC, we'll always be putting our eye on that. We'll always be making sure that no jobs are lost when it comes to the issues of transition. Even when there are lost jobs, what is it that comes into play? How are we upskilling the people in making sure that they fit to the new way when we talk to the issues of just transition? So we are saying, as DTIC, it's one broad topic, it's one broad journey that we are all in with within the country, but as the government as a whole, we are working together. I've even mentioned that we sit in the IMCs, where it's the interministerial committees, where we look at all those possibilities and say, how best can we take our country forward? When we say just transition, what is it that we can do so that we don't cripple the economy, we don't even have much dent on the high levels of unemployment that we are having as a country. So those are all the things that we are taking into consideration as we move towards this just transition. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Minister. Honourable Members, question number 863 has been asked by the Honourable April to the Minister of Small Business Development. The Honourable Minister. The Honourable Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you so much, House Chair. I would like to respond to the question that has been asked by the Honourable Member in relation to the support that we are giving to small businesses, considering the criteria that is very complicated. The department understands the difficulties that our small businesses are facing whilst they try to access finance. To enable ease of access to finance, SIFA has implemented the automation of its own loan application process. Through the automated loan application system, small businesses can go anywhere within South Africa and be able to apply for loan funding using the online system, which means they do not need to travel to the SIFA offices to apply. Our blended financing instrument is aimed at lowering the cost of finance for small businesses through a mix of grant funding and loan finance. Honourable members, during the current financial year, SIFA is targeting to disburse about 1.4 billion rand to black-owned enterprises and 610.1 million rand to youth-owned enterprises. This will be achieved through the implementation of the Township and Rural Enterprises Program, as well as through the wholesale lending and Kula credit guarantee loan channels. All of these efforts are complemented by an array of business support services that are provided by the Small Enterprise Development Agency in order to increase and channel the pipeline for SIFA funding. Thank you, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable April.
Thank you, Minister, for your response. I would like to know, Minister, has new and developing SMMEs been able to access this funding? And if yes, how many of them has been able to access this funding in the past financial year and in the current financial year? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, are you still there?
Yes, House Chair, can you hear me now?
Yes, please proceed.
We have supported 6,443 SMMEs according to the reports that we got from the agents. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable De Villiers.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, for SMEs, for small businesses, turnover is just vanity. Cash flow is king. So without cash flow and a payment record, SMEs simply cannot successfully apply for any type of finance, be it from SIFA or from private sector. Yet the ANC government itself have not managed to pay 4.73 billion rand owed to businesses by the government within the 30 days specified period of the PFMA. What is the Minister, being the Minister of Small Business Development, doing to ensure that SMEs that do business with government gets paid within the 30 days as prescribed by law? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair. Indeed, the ANC government and current government ensured that it put instruments in place, hence we are able to talk about the 30-day payment rule. What now we are doing together with the Department of Planning and Monitoring in the Presidency and National Treasury is to get National Treasury to tighten the guidelines, as we know that all the accounting officers now have a responsibility to ensure that the 30-day payment period is met. We still experiencing challenges, of course, as the Honourable Member has said, but now the teams are working on tightening whatever instruments that are there. We continue as the department to engage all the affected parties, from departments to the provincial level, to encourage them to pay, because failure to pay on time, it doesn't only affect the small business, but it affects all those that are relying on the services that are provided by the small business. We are working on amending the legislation, wherein we will then build and put an office of the ombuds, where we can be able to therefore say, how do you then put punitive rates that must ensure that small businesses are paid on time, which emphasizes compliance. But in the meantime, we're engaging all, and National Treasury is working on tightening those regulations. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Matulelwa.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, izinto ezingumqobo ekufumaneni uncedo lwezimali zokuphuhlisa amabhizinisi akhasayo ziyanda ngaphezu kokuthi kwenziwe ngaphezu kokuthi kwenziwe ne-special unit umongameli esingenasidingo bephofu. Yintoni enzima ukuyalela iminyango yezezimali ye-SMMEs uba mazenze ntoni, uba zirejistade zonke ezi SMMEs ezi-aplayayo? Enkosi, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Enkosi mhlale ngaphambili. Umhlonishwa uzawukhumbula into yokuba into ebangele umongameli athathe isigqibo sokufaka umnumzana wenkosi onguye ojongene nokulwa kanye nezi zinto zithi zime endleleni ukuze kuphuhla amashishini asakhulayo, yinto yokuba iingxaki ezi sithetha ngazo are cutting across. For example, House Chair, if we are faced with a situation wherein a farmer has access to a lake or a dam but cannot utilize that dam because one does not have water rights or a license, it means they must go to the Department of Agriculture. If any other small business in the area or any other business in a municipal area wants certain land, there's the rezoning cost and the rezoning processes. If one wants to trade, they must get a permit. All these things, they start from local level to national level. Therefore, the President, as wise as he is, saw it important that as we look at this cutting across issues, we need somebody who coordinates all of us and be able, from his offices, the highest office in the land, to give a directive and therefore be able to say, let's join hands in ensuring that we deal with those. Yes, red tape is a crisis in our country. And this is why collectively as government, both at national, provincial, and local level, as I've indicated earlier, we are engaging to say, whilst you are in the process of amending the legislation, how do we sign agreements that must enable small businesses to be able to trade? At the center of it is South Africans that must buy from the local products. Because there are existing businesses that are offering products but South Africans are not supporting them. We urge bonke abahlonitshwa ukuthi baqinisekise ukuthi osomashishini abasakhasayo indawo zabo bayasapotwa ngokuthi kuthengwe kubo, ukanti naxa benikeza imisebenzi eminingi kurhulumente bancediswe ngolwazi ekufuneka belufumanile. Sisebenza sisonke ukuqinisekisa ukuba amashishini akhulayo ayaphuhla azawukwazi ukuthi adale amathuba emisebenzi 11 million nanjengoko isitsho i-National Development Plan. Ndiyabulela mhlanga-phambili.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nkosi Vituli.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, whether in light of this recent relief given to about 45 businesses, whether it's in a phased plan to continually support all the business to achieve growth targets and become economy and job contributors to the economy. If not, if no plan exists, why not? If so, what are the details and the timeline of such plans? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair. With all due respect, I would request that the Honourable Member repeat the question.
Honourable Member, Honourable Vituli, of course, can you just repeat the question and speak into the microphone, please?
Whether in light of the recent relief given to about 45 businesses, there is a phased plan to continually support all the businesses to achieve growth targets and become economy and job contributors to the economy. If not, if no plan exists, why not? If so, what are the details of the timelines and such plans?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, House Chair, and thank you to the Honourable Member. Let me first correct this. We did not support 45 businesses. We supported 145 businesses. And as part of the support that we provide to businesses, all of them, whether they're in a flood crisis or in any other crisis, for as long as they are beneficiaries of our programs, we provide pre-investment support, which is meant to ensure that before we disburse money, the company is ready to be invested in. The second support that we provide is post-investment support, which is looking at ensuring that the sustainability by the SMMEs that are there. I said earlier, the reason we are doing everything to support small businesses is because they have a critical role as defined in the National Development Plan. Now, if we're not going to ensure that the sustainability, it would mean that by 2030, South Africa will not be able to create the jobs that we're talking about. Therefore, when we have spent, we make sure that at least the jobs are saved and they can also create new ones. These are the plans that we have, different schemes that we provide to our businesses, the business viability program, the trap that I mentioned, wholesale and lending. For those that are getting tenders or any business, when they have a purchase order, they go to CIFA and they apply for the funding. And this is why, honourable members, we continue to plead for more budgets, because the more government says we are spending on infrastructure so much, it means there's a lot of SMMEs that require credit guarantee that we must provide to them. And all of this is meant to ensure that the sustainability. Thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question number 881 has been asked by the Honourable E.M. Pelezi to the Minister of Public Enterprises. The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you. Transnet subscribes to the government policy that is to move the transport of most goods from roads to rail. There is no doubt that an excessive number of trucks pose a threat both to the conditions and repair of roads and to the safety and well-being of citizens, whether they are in other vehicles or on the road. With specific reference to the damage caused by the floods to the rail mode, Transport Freight Rail has been hard at work virtually the day after the floods to repair the damage caused by the KZN floods in April. The following is the progress made on some of the areas that have been receiving attention of Transnet. Firstly, the access to Bayhead, which is quite crucial to the removal of containers. This repair work is to attend to the washed away section of Bayhead Road and was completed in June 2022. Number two, alternate road access has been sought and identified, and that is under construction at the moment and will be completed by the 15th of December 2022. The state of repair of the one line to Gauteng, this has been opened since the 13th of June 2022. And the second line has been operating between Cato Ridge and Shellcross since the 30th of September 2022. There was also severe damage, as honourable members would be aware, and Honourable Buthelezi would be aware, to what is called the South Coast Line, parts of which are under the control of PRASA. And that bridge repair is going through the following process. On the 28th of September, the Transnet Freight Rail received and accepted a letter of appointment from PRASA for the phase 1 portion of the repair to what is called the Lovo Bridge on the south coast. The delivery date for phase 1 is the end of January 2023, and the primary deliverable in this phase is for PRASA to review conceptual designs and selected preferred options. This will not release any capacity immediately on the line, and thereafter phase 2 would follow once those choices are made, where the actual commencement of construction to repair the bridge will proceed and timelines informed by the selected design. The reunion section was restored on the 1st of August 2022, and this enables the important manufacturing operation of Toyota to the south of Durban to take their vehicles directly via rail to the port for export purposes. The back of port operations at Durban Harbour, in this regard, the Bayhead terminal has been operational throughout the period when the main line was closed as a result of the floods. It is used for massive evacuation from the port, and the clearance of import containers from the terminal that had become congested during the flood period and the damages caused. All these containers that were in the port before the floods have been evacuated or allocated out of the port. The availability of slots on the line between eThekwini and Gauteng, in this particular regard, the slot capacity has been released as of the 1st of October, and there are still negotiations going on between sections of business who want to utilize these slots and Transnet itself. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honourable E.M. Buthelezi.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Minister, with respect to Transnet opening up slots for third parties in an attempt to liberalize the rail network, which I believe will actually assist in terms of capacity and efficiency, what measures are there in place to ensure that it attracts investors? And secondly, considering the fact that there's been a reduction in the maintenance expenditure, will the minister not regard as wise to redirect most of government investment in maintenance of the failing network? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Buthelezi. The slots, as I just indicated, Honourable Buthelezi, have now been made available, but there's a bit of a dispute about two elements. One is the time frame within which those slots are allocated, and the second is, if you like, the footstoots condition that has been attached to the allocation. So those are matters that TFR is currently reviewing, and there's no doubt that additional capital needs to be found, both within Transnet and perhaps with partners, in order to upgrade the rail network, and certainly in respect of important export lines like the ore line that operates in the Northern Cape. But these are matters that Transnet is looking into, and wherever possible, money is being directed towards these maintenance projects. But as you correctly point out, opportunities are also being sought for creative, constructive, and mutually acceptable partnerships between Transnet and the various customers who might be actually interested. So there are ongoing discussions in that particular regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honourable N.K. Dlamini.
Thanks, Chair. Honourable Minister, in light of the fact that the National Development Plan places an integral responsibility on Transnet for the delivery of a reliable supply of coal for Eskom and for export, yet Transnet's market share in the movement of domestic freight indicates that rail is still not an attractive mode of transport. How will the selling of Transnet rail slots to third parties enable Transnet to provide efficient and reliable rail services for the movement of domestic freight, including coal, and subsequently lead to lower costs of rail relative to road? Of course, Minister, I will understand the current volume of trucks is as a result of the war in Ukraine and the growth in demand for coal. But this is going to subside in the next 2 years. Can we then respond more along the lines of a long-term plan?
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Dlamini. And those are important questions that apply to our logistics system as a whole, and as you point out, the responsibilities that Transnet has. So as far as the northern line or the coal line is concerned, this is a very different line from some of the other lines in the country, in that it passes through many communities, many areas, and is constantly under attack, either for cable, as a result of cable theft, or for other disruptive reasons as well. There's important partnerships that have been entered into with the coal mining industries in order to provide additional security along this line. And primarily, you should also be aware that the shortage of locomotives or the repair to some of these locomotives, which has been held up by the lack of spare parts and technical capability by the original equipment manufacturers, have also been a factor. So the slots that we are referring to are largely, as you point out, for freight, and that is on the eThekwini-Gauteng line. As far as the coal line is concerned, this is still mainly under the operation of Transnet, and there's no doubt that, as you point out, the rail mode of transport provides the most cost-efficient way in which goods can in fact be moved. But Transnet has to now give attention, firstly in terms of safety, together with other government entities along those lines. Secondly, continue to maintain those lines and improve the maintenance. Thirdly, solve the locomotive problem, some of which is internal, some of which is external. And fourthly, try to meet the volume requirements of the coal mining sector. But as you correctly point out, the price of coal has increased massively as a result of the war in Europe, and that is not going to be the case continuously.
Thank you very much. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honourable F. Issa. Over to you.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Minister, the so-called business forums that have held the construction sector hostage through illegal demands to be included in contracts appear to have extended their tentacles to Transnet. Recently, Transnet had to withdraw its teams from the site of a derailment after one of these business forums demanded business opportunities in the salvage operations. What action is the government taking to prevent organized crime by these mafia organizations from taking root at Transnet? Does the Minister agree that these business forums are economic saboteurs, or is Transnet going to eventually turn out to be the next ESCOM? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Isaac, Transnet is not the next ESCOM. Transnet has its share of problems, but by and large, it is still an operational organization. It's got capabilities that few organizations in South Africa have. And thirdly, the answer that I read out earlier on in terms of the repair post the April floods is more than an adequate example of the kind of technical capacity that we have within Transnet. So we should respect that, and we should nurture it, and we should protect it. But secondly, you're right, the business forum phenomenon is being abused in different parts of the country. It's affecting not only Transnet, but many other businesses and enterprises, both in the private sector and public sector. And where there is illegal activity, there's no doubt that they should and can be called economic saboteurs. At the same time, there is a demand from communities that their businesses operating from and within those communities and workers from those communities should be involved. So there are many parts of South Africa where Transnet Rail in particular has come to arrangements with different communities in order to find work for members of the community, particularly in this period post the floods, but subsequently as well. So that's the positive side of getting local community involvement. And there's no doubt that there's the negative side when violence and other forms of enforcement are used. And this is where, finally, law enforcement agencies need to do their job and ensure that they bring this phenomenon of business forums and certainly their illegal activities under control. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honourable S. Ensort.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, the ACDP supports the road-to-rail policy to reduce the number of large trucks on the roads and to reduce the number of fatal accidents. But we're also acutely aware that Transnet was targeted during state capture, and as you pointed out, is also recovering from the KZN floods earlier this year. I was going to ask you, Honourable Minister, about the issue related to criminal justice and the criminal syndicates and the forums, and that was covered by my colleague and responded to you. So if I may, with your permission, then ask about an issue you raised about the locomotives. When we did, and that is transpired in the state capture report about the South China Rail and the locomotive deal, is it foreseen that locomotives will be provided and that spares will be provided, given the fact that, as you pointed out, that is one of the major challenges in Transnet Freight Rail is the issue relating to locomotives arising from some of the suspect transactions that were highlighted during the state capture report. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Chairperson, Honourable Swart is my reference point for all of the activities under state capture, so he makes an important point. Secondly, in the last few months there's been a lot of progress in negotiating with the original equipment manufacturers that come from China, but they come from other parts of the world as well, including the involvement of companies like Alstom, which has taken over some of the Bombardier facilities that we're operating in South Africa. So there's a bit more work to do in order to have consistent supply of parts, the usage of those parts by Transnet Engineering in a more efficient way to get what are called long-standing locomotives that are already in the country, but which cannot be utilized because of the lack of parts or inability to maintain and repair them. And thirdly, to ensure that the right kind of technical expertise is provided by the original equipment manufacturers, because one of the problems with contracts signed during the state capture period was that maintenance contracts and arrangements were not adequately made. At the same time, and this is my last point, there are outstanding supplies that still need to be provided by the various companies that were part of the 1064 deal, so to speak, earlier in the 2016-2017 period, and before that as well. And hopefully these discussions that have been taking place and the arrangements that are being reached will ensure that new locomotives also make their way into South Africa sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Members, question 864 has been asked by Honourable T.V. Mashele to the Minister, Honourable Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for the question. The function of oversight of public entities have been maturing, hence the observance of governance improvements within the entities. One of the measures that we have put in place is to make improvement in the shareholder compacts with the entities. The shareholder compact is a legal requirement for Schedule 2 public entities, but we have also extended it to Schedule 3A public entities. And the improvements that we've made was to insert clauses making it a requirement for the boards of the entities to conduct annual independent board performance assessments. We've also made it a requirement for the entities to contribute towards the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. One of the entities we're also busy with the project to investigate the options for the rationalization of the public entities in line with the work done by the Presidential State-Owned Entity Council. One entity, Schedule 2, the Independent Development Trust, is a very good example. It's supposed to be generating its own funds, and I trust we all know the sad history about the IDT. But since the start of the term of the current board in August of 2021, we have seen the entity that is surely making its way towards a fully financial sustainability. The board has put in place turnaround measures, they're cutting expenditure, focusing on essential operating requirements, and they've also recruited key personnel and strategic positions to drive the turnaround strategy. So the developments within the IDT with the turnaround indicate that IDT might even break even in the 24-25 financial year, and so maybe thereafter move towards a surplus. Then other entities like the construction, the CIDB board, we have gazetted the best practice fee assessment scheme in September 2020, and this has allowed the entity to generate more funds that will be used towards contractor development, which has been a missing element in the entity's operation because of funding. But the CIDB has been able to remain financially sustainable through the generation of the funds. The best practice fee assessment has gained traction, and they are generating enough funds to continue with their programs. Another entity, Agreement South Africa, they not only service the local market but also international market, and the main requirement now for ASA is to market its services so as to ensure that those people and companies who want to introduce innovative building products and systems into the market knows about their offering. That is just some of the entities, but I will put some more in the written response. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honourable M. Tobongwan.
Thank you, Minister, for such a response on the question. My follow-up is, what are the developmental and other projects which entities are undertaking to ensure a revenue stream that ensures financial sustainability? And what is the developmental and economic contribution of these projects to the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. There are a number of developmental projects that we have introduced since early 2019, and we from time to time do provide the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure to update, but they are making a major contribution towards the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. And it's different in different entities. In terms of the IDT, for instance, the IDT is very active in the social infrastructure space, and they have signed a number of new contracts with government departments. In terms of the CIDB also with a very young CEO that has just been appointed a few months ago, they're also running a lot of development programs, including the offering of internships for both environment graduates, not only just in the private sector, but also within government departments. So that's all part of the developmental plan that we have for all the entities under the oversight of Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honourable S.J. Graham.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, the IDT has been floundering since its inception. It's a social infrastructure implementing agent by design, but is still unable to earn enough external funding to support itself. The IDT board has now taken a decision that due to the poor condition of their own building, they're going to sell this building and rent premises for their head office in 2 regions. It beggars belief that as an implementing agent, the IDT is unable to maintain and or repair its own head office. Furthermore, that an organization that is failing to generate sufficient funding to be deemed a going concern would now incur an additional substantial cost to rent facilities when it can remain in its own current building at no cost. Minister, would it not make more sense for the IDT to use the money it is allocating for rental on repairing its own building and investing in its own assets, rather than adding another huge monthly cost to its unfunded budgetary expenditure? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Graham-Marie. Honourable Chairperson, we did engage with the IDT. It is a decision that was taken by the board of the IDT, and we have convinced them that they need to either delay the project, we need to look at getting a total facility management plan for the existing building, but they have reviewed the decision and they've not proceeded. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honourable A.M. Siwisa. Are you here, Honourable Member? Honourable Siwisa.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I will take the question of Honourable Siwisa. It's Honourable Barbara Matulelo. Minister, the SOEs do not receive enough support from the department with specific reference to IDT, which has become clearly daily through reports that its mandate as an implementing agency for projects work allocation decreases and always sidelined, and preference is given to private entities like DBSA, KOHA, and the recent times ISA. The entity will not be able to sustain itself financially. What are the reasons for the IDT being sidelined? For an example of Telkom Tower project and the construction of Kagiso Borolong High School in Ngata, Mudiri Mulima region, where DBSA is the implementing agency. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. We must understand that we have got three implementing agencies, as DBSA, KUHA and IDT. And government departments make the choice which implementing agent they want to use, and these implementing agents, they also charge a management fee. IDT is competing in that space, and I know that IDT has just recently signed some service level agreement with the education department. But the bailout of IDT is 92 million rand per year. And to give the bailout to IDT, we need to get permission from National Treasury, which we receive with conditions. So IDT had to comply with certain conditions. Even in the current financial year, we had to provide operational costs. IDT will apply for funding for next year, also for operational costs, because as I was explaining that they are making good progress in implementing their own turnaround strategy. But it's not a matter of give to IDT and not to DVSA or KUHA. They are all implementing agencies in their own right. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honourable S.S. Zondo.
Honourable Minister, your department has been able to pay all service providers within the mandated 30 days, and whether it has recently experienced any challenges regarding the financial control. If not, why not? If so, please provide the details. Thank you.
Thank you, the Honourable Minister.
Oh, thank you very much, Chairperson. I just reported to the Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration this morning. We are very proud with our achievement in terms of paying service providers within 30 days. You can look at my Twitter account yesterday on a weekly basis. We put it out on the social media. Can you just listen? Maybe you can learn something. No one. Can you just listen? All the members, can you just listen? Honourable, can you just listen? You can't read. Honourable, you can't read, but can you listen?
You are drawing the speaker.
It's too hard.
There is a point of order. Honourable Dixon, no, wait, before you proceed. You started to have your own engagement direct with the minister. After a second thought, you want to raise a point of order. What is the point of order?
It's so sick.
Sorry, the howling can get up. Chair, the minister decided to engage me. The point I made...
Don't lie! Don't lie!
Honourable order, let's hear the point of order.
You can't talk when you have howling like this. You can't talk when you have howling like this.
Point of order.
So the minister engaged me, not the other way around. What I had just simply said, I'd like to read what the minister says, but she blocks people on Twitter, so we can't read what she said.
Thank you. No point of order, Minister. You may proceed. Order, members. Order, honourable members. There is no point of order. Honourable Minister, you may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. We just reported this morning to the Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration the progress that we've made with a system that we've introduced more than a year ago called Ria Botala. Our paying rate is between 95 and 98% per week. We publish on the website of the department every week our 30-day payments. The system that we've introduced, I've reported the success to Cabinet. We have shared the system that we are using with all other government departments. And even this morning in the Portfolio Committee of DPSA, we were commended for the progress that we are making with 30-day payments. So that is what we have achieved, Chairperson, and I'm very proud to say, our achievement does help small and medium enterprises, especially, that cannot wait for late payments from government. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, question number 896 has been asked by Honorable D.W. McPherson to the Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition. Over to you, Honorable DM.
Questions?
Thank you very much, House Chair. The response to Honorable McPherson will go as follows. Yes, the BBBE initiative have demonstrated, and they are still demonstrating the ability to create jobs and grow the economy. These initiatives are structured and implemented by public and private sector through the guidance of codes of good practice. These initiatives are monitored in the codes of good practice towards ownership, management control, skills development, enterprise and supplier development, and socio-economic development.
What is the criteria?
Honorable Chair, there are quite a number of programs that we are having as the Department of Trade, Industry and Competitions that make sure that we leverage on the issue of BBBE, where when we talk to the issue of broad-based empowerment, it's where we want to make sure is to say those communities that were previously excluded from the economy, they get that first, a very fair stake in the economy of our country. We have got programs like the Black Industrialist Program, and the achievements of the Black Industrialist Program that we are having is that I can just mention that for now about 32 billion has been invested through funding initiatives with the GTIC, where nearly 800 black industrialist businesses and black entrepreneurs have been assisted. This funding has supported the creation of new and dynamic enterprises in a number of critical value chains across the 9 provinces, helping in additional investment from the private sector as well as creating and saving nearly jobs.
No.
We're looking at projects that cover a variety of products and sectors like food production, clothing, textile, and so forth. And over the next 5 years, the social partners will seek to invest in new industries which can bring industries up to 200 billion annually.
And maybe
those are some of the achievements as Honorable McPherson has asked us to see what is it that we are benefiting. And from November 2021 to October 2022, 34 billion received.
Small, medium enterprise.
Industrialists received
3 questions more.
Disbursements and reported the creation of 1,070 jobs being supported from the BI program. I'll just mention 2 programs. We have got the YES program, that is the Youth Employment Service. The YES initiative is an additional intervention with a specific objective to address youth employment. BBBE recognizes recognition is one of the enablers put forth by government to fast-track the achievement of YES initiative, which help a lot in the reduction of youth unemployment in our country. For the period under review, 18,494 new job opportunities were created for unemployed youth through this year's program. So again, that is some of the achievement. We cannot mention them all that Honorable McPherson has asked about. Black Export Support Program, again, this is one program that we are very proud of, where it is enabling, we see it enabling the participation of black enterprises in export and international markets. The department has had this program as from 1st of November 2021, and we have supported more than 676 black-owned entities through export awareness and export training initiatives. So those are some of the things that we are doing. We have also the NEF, that is the National Empowerment Funding, that is playing a very critical and a vital role when it comes to the issues of empowering black people in making sure that they do get.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, House Chair.
The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Dieter Macpherson.
Thank you, Chairperson. South Africa, which has been governed by the ANC for the last 28 years, currently has the worst unemployment rate post-1994. Life for black South Africans has got worse under your government. They are poorer than they were a decade ago, and poverty amongst black South Africans has increased every year for the last 10 years. We also know that the cost of goods and services has skyrocketed in South Africa, making it harder for people to feed their families and put clothes on their backs. None of these realities are an act of God. They are a result of the ANC's economic policies of BE and localization. Instead of making the connection between your failed policies and growing black unemployment and poverty, President Ramaphosa and Minister Patel have said the solution to this is simply to intensify BE and localization. So in other words, make things a lot worse, a lot quicker. Recently, Eskom board member Mteto Nyati made the connection between these two realities when he said that the only way to save Eskom was to do away with BE and localization. He is, of course, a very successful businessman, so he knows what he's talking about. Deputy Minister, do you not think that it's time to start listening to the Inyatis of this world and rid South Africa of ANC failed economic policies? And if you don't, how do you explain rising unemployment and poverty for black South Africans, despite the policies adopted by your government 20 years ago that you said were going to do the very opposite? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable D.M. Kina.
Thank you very much, House Chair. If we are all living in South Africa and experiencing what we are all experiencing, really, right now, when was it? We're coming to the portfolio committee where we're talking to the issues of localization and what is it that we are doing when it comes to the issues of localization in the issues of creating more job opportunities in our country. I'm surprised really to hear Honorable Macpherson saying we should do away with the issues of localization, issues of triple BE. Localization really, looking at what we have achieved through the issues of localization, looking at the master plans that we have come up with, where we include labor, where we include business, where government is in opening up avenues for all those emerging companies to get in making sure that when it comes to manufacturing in our country, that is what we are looking at. I'm surprised really if ever we can be hearing an honorable member saying those are the things that we should drop, whereas they are benefiting more especially the black people of our country, those people who have been previously disadvantaged. So really I'm not sure whether we're looking at our country through different lenses. Maybe Honorable Macpherson is using another lens of which it's not the lens that we are looking at as to say how do we develop and how do we make sure that we marshal so many black people to play a meaningful role in our country. But what I would say, Honorable Chair, thank you very much even to the private sector, to the big businesses for opening up when we sit down with them in making sure that we open up these avenues in making sure that we get more and more black people when it comes to the issues of legalization, when it comes to the issues of black triple BE, for them to be having a space to have a stake in the economy of our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable J. Vermas.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Minister, while there are indications of progress, albeit very slow, on achieving triple BE targets, women remain far behind from benefiting. Even the National Status Report confirms this. What are the additional interventions to catalyze benefits for women?
Thank you. The Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Yes, it is true that women are lagging behind in terms of benefiting in the triple BE policies. It is a very concerning matter. Private sector, we have seen they still, there's still a lot of doubt. They place that doubt when it comes to women-owned companies as partners on big transitions and subcontracting in general. Yet evidence shows that women-owned companies perform better and break even quicker. We got excited in 2020 when President Cyril Ramaphosa during the Women's Day announced the government that it would set aside 40% for women in public procurement to address this anomaly. Our task is to make sure that we monitor, we assess all the public procurements from the department to SOEs on whether they complied with what the announcement was done. So with this anomaly, with this concerning reality that we are faced with, it is all our duty in making sure that we make sure that when it comes to the issues of private sector, our SOEs, our departments, let us monitor and make sure that when it comes to the issues of women, come to ownership, come to making decision-making, to find women up there. Thank you very much, Austin.
Thank you. The next supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Trapu.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, Deputy Minister, the clear a distinction must be made between your government poor record in building up and supporting the black businesses and the entry of enterprising black people into various industries. You know, the DA's racist attitude, which views any black participation in the industry as tokenism doomed to fail. Your failure to build up and support black businesses feeds into the racist view of the DA, which underpins the questions that they ask. Now, that, however, does not absolve you and your failures. What happened to the much talked about? You know, this black industrialists have been raising it within these committees that you need to list the successes that have actually happened there. And one of the things that I said was that one, as long as we don't own means of production, we don't have anything. And which product that is standing out?
I said switch it off, please. Thank you. Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Host Chair. Yes, I would say there are a lot of strides that we have taken in making sure that we support black businesses, as Honorable Sako is saying. We might not have reached where we need to reach. There's so much, and we are working with the various departments when it comes to that. But when he mentions specifically the program of BI, the Black Industrialist Program, I'm not sure, I'm happy because Honorable Sako is even the member of the Portfolio Committee, where just a few weeks ago we were there to come and showcase the work that has been done by the BIS program, showcasing the cases where people have benefited when it comes to this. Yes, no one can ever come here and say we've done it all, but to say we're not doing anything, really, I wouldn't agree. Yes, I know we are here, we are from various political parties, we need to politic somehow, somewhere and somehow, but really to come here and mislead us to say there is nothing we're doing when it comes to the program of the BIS, the Black Industrialist, I would really totally disagree with what Honorable Sako is doing. But I am prepared, Chair, even if he didn't get the report, as the ministry, we are going, the department, we can furnish him with the reporters to say these are the black industrialists, where you can go and touch them and interview them and see the contribution that the government is doing in making sure that our black people do play a meaningful role when it comes to the economic growth of our country. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable F.J. Mutla.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair. Freedom Front Plus is in support of broad-based economic empowerment of all people in South Africa. Do the Honourable Deputy Minister acknowledge that the initial intention of triple
How is that possible?
which resulted in its crippled system, the lapse of service delivery, and thus denying a large number of South Africans
How
the
is
opportunity
it possible
to
for all of
engage
us,
in
black and white?
Thank you. The Honorable
Thank you very much, House Chair.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chairperson. Again, I wouldn't stand here and say the issues of corruption, the issues of state capture did not have an impact on the good goals that we are having as a country when it comes to the issues of BEE. But we are saying that's one policy that is there to make sure that we level the playing field for everyone to play. When it comes to the issues of corruption, issues of state capture, it's us again as government that have even come up with all the commissions and the investigation just because we want to uproot all what hinders our progress in making sure that we serve the people of our country the way that they need to be served. So, yes, partly I will agree with you, but we are saying this is the policy that is there, that we are saying it is here to assist in making sure that we level those playing fields to make sure that everyone does get that space to play in the economy of our country. So thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Minister. Question 859 has been asked by Honorable K.R.J. Mushra to the Honorable Minister of Public Enterprises, but I'm not too sure he's sitting as a guest there. He's not part of the House. I'm sure Honorable Swart will take it. But over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to Reverend Mishre for the question. Komati Coal Power Station is now 62 years old and was put into operation in 1961 and essentially has reached the end of its operating life. Of the 9 original units, only one has been operating in the past few years. This particular unit, Unit 9, delivered only 120 megawatts at a cost approximating the cost of operating an open cycle gas turbine. That's the turbines that utilize the diesel I was referring to earlier. Furthermore, it was no longer legally compliant from a safety perspective and was accordingly shut down at 12:41 on the 31st of October 2022. When coal stations reach the end of their economic life, they need to be decommissioned or shut down. The running of Unit 9 at Komati is not economically justifiable. Eskom is pursuing a strategy of repowering and repurposing these units to minimize the impact of the shutdowns on the electricity supply, as well as minimizing the impact on workers and surrounding communities. All of that is part of the just energy transition that South Africa is committed to. In addition, the Integrated Resource Plan assumed that Komati Unit 9 would be shut down in 2020. However, the operation of this unit was extended to 2022. As part of the Just Energy Plan for Komati, a number of objectives have been set to ensure, firstly, that the development of new generation capacity takes place, 100 megawatts of PV or solar voltaic plants, 60 megawatts of wind, 150 megawatts of battery storage. Furthermore, synchronous condensers will be installed to assist with the frequency control, which is essential for the transmission process to work. No Eskom workers will lose their jobs as a result of the shutdown of Unit 9. A training center is being established in cooperation with the Cape Peninsula University of Technology to train, reskill and upskill workers from surrounding communities as renewable energy technicians. 5. Eskom has also established an assembly line for modular microgrids at Komati to further enhance job creation. 6. The development of new industrial development and enterprises in Mpumalanga for renewable components is also under consideration with the assistance of GTIC. In addition, various other initiatives will be taken to ensure energy production continues, and importantly, as we say, no one is left behind. The above is also supplemented by the Eskom initiative to make land available through an auctioning process around other power stations for the private sector to invest in renewable energy. It's estimated that this initiative alone will attract 100 billion rands of investment in Mpumalanga and add more than 2,000 megawatts to the grid at no cost to Eskom or the fiscus. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honourable K.R.J. Misho.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Honourable Minister, for that reply. The ACDP is obviously concerned about the job losses that will take place, even though I did what the Minister said about
They don't have
training and
generator,
upskilling workers. We know that it will not be the same workers who are skilled will be needed when this transition.
They don't have generator RSR.
We also know that a wind farm in Western Germany is being dismantled. Their commitment to transition to renewable energy. Does the Minister not agree that maintaining our existing power plants and expanding some of our coal mines will help mitigate the challenges that Eskom has of load shedding, particularly in the long term?
Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Misha, this is a new phase that the world is entering, and as you know, COP27 has just been concluded in Egypt in the past week or so. At the same time, the war in Europe has required various countries to make changes, and what South Africa is demanding of those countries is honesty, frankness, and a recognition and acknowledgement of the fact that some of them have had to make alternate arrangements to ensure energy security for their citizens and for their economies as well. As a consequence, Europe as a whole is making various adjustments, whether it is reopening an old coal-powered station, whether it is relying upon France for nuclear power, or on Norway for gas, which it didn't want to use initially. So these are the adaptations that are necessary for them as they see it in their national interest. Similarly, in the South
below the demonstrant capacity of the others. Thank you. The Honourable Minister.
Honourable Mbalula raises important questions that have been addressed as part of the planning by Eskom for the repurposing of the Komati power station, but also, as I pointed out, firstly, introducing new capacities for megawatt production through wind, solar, and battery storage as well. Secondly, the establishment of the academy and training center at Komati, and then bigger ones in Mpumalanga much later, is going to play an important part in ensuring that, as I said, workers are retrained and new generations